people who say the uptake is low may actually not be informed. It is the packaging that we do that makes the government take up these findings. Secondly, if you do research that does not have direct impact on the development of a country, most likely to remain on the shelf. So it must be relevant to the country. It must be needed at the time. And three, when you are doing this research, if you don't involve the stakeholders, fortunately for Reza and RAN, we've been involving the governments, all governments, local governments at the beginning, so that they know and they inform us, and we work with them what we find. Now, researchers who do research without involving government, it becomes very difficult to focus on what the government issues or what are the problems of the communities. And therefore, uptake becomes low, but we have no challenge. At least in the countries we have been in, Reza has been in 11 countries, RAN has been in 22 African countries. We have not had any single problem with our findings.
I think one of the biggest challenges is there are certain pockets of areas that are so important to our country and to the region where funding is not necessarily always available. And because of that, we are not necessarily addressing the entire portfolio of the work that we want to do. For example, what we call the neglected tropical diseases. You find people still have bilharzia in this country, and not few, more than 20% in one of the surveys that we did not long ago. So those are some of the pockets. If we had our own internally generated institutional and long-term sustained support, we should be able to work in some of those areas a bit more. Right now we have a lot of issues, for example, around the environment and how we manage it and how that impacts health in terms of disease outbreaks, in terms of what we eat and how healthy it is. We need to do more research in some of these areas to see whether it's exposing us to disease and in fact perhaps driving some of the increasing burden of diseases like the cancers. Could it be coming from some of the issues we eat and the air we breathe and the exposures within the environment? So those are some of the areas that are not really well funded, and perhaps we need a more comprehensive agenda to make sure that that is done well.
Institutions that are rooted in the places where we work. We love the universities in the United States, but we cherish the universities and research institutions that are locally based, that have a feel of what's happening on the ground, on what the real solutions are to the problems that we face. They're the ones that can have a deeper perspective on how to solve those local problems. At USAID right now, especially, throughout our history, but especially now, there's increased emphasis on local ownership and local leadership. In fact, one of our objectives right now is to try and get at least 50% of all USAID programs, this is globally, by the year 2030 to be, let me get this wording right, to place local communities in the lead, to set priorities and co-design projects and to drive implementation, and also to evaluate these projects. And so missions around the world, including ours, are thinking about this. We already do a lot of this, but we're trying to think of how we can do more, how we can do it more intentionally, to put local voices, local perspectives in the lead in the design, implementation, and the assessment of our projects. So naturally, this includes our efforts throughout Africa to work with local universities.
Who is the PI of the program? So Laser Pulse is funded by ITR, Innovation Technology and Research Hub of USAID from DC, and we work very closely with USAID partner entities across the world. We work closely with the missions, we work closely with the bureaus and independent offices. And really our work is to basically work with local universities, researchers and practitioners to conduct research and development sector challenges so that we can produce evidence-based decisions that can then reflect into policy and practice for USAID and specific to the regions that we are working in. We have great partnership with RAN, and through them we are conducting multiple projects in Uganda, but we also work across Africa. We work in Zambia, Rwanda, Somalia, South Sudan, South Africa, Ethiopia, and of course Kenya as well. We have more than 45 higher education institutions as a partner, and more than 3,500 network members on our research network.